Hello, my name is Claire, and welcome to the first episode of the Knitting in Green podcast. Yeah, brand new podcast, hoping that I can commit to it for more than just one episode. This is my second time recording this because I recorded my first try a couple weeks ago, and I edited it, and I was ready to post, and then I watched it back, and I was like, wow, this is not what I wanted it to be. It felt like a first draft, so here I am doing draft 2. A couple of disclaimers from what I have learned about that last video. So I'm recording this on my computer because I don't have a video camera, and my phone has no storage left. So you'll notice probably that the colors kind of change because my computer is just trying to do whatever it wants. And so it keeps freaking out whenever the lighting changes, and trying to change the color balance. So colors, I can already see them kind of shifting around. So apologies for that. I'm not buying a video camera until I know that I like doing this. Second is, the glare on my glasses, not great, don't love it, but the lighting in my room is not so great. So for now, this is what we have to deal with. Third thing is I generally always watch knitting podcasts on double speed because a lot of them are hour-long videos and I only have so many hours in the day. The first time I tried recording this, I was recording for over an hour and a half and I cut it down to 1 hour, so we will see how it goes today. Okay, so a little bit of background since it's the first episode. My name is Claire. I am a knitter based in New York. I have been knitting since early 2021, but I've been crocheting for longer than that, and I've always had an interest in fashion, arts, and everything. I'm trained as a painter. That was what I went to school for. And I picked up knitting because I liked making crochet clothes, but I didn't love the fabric. And I needed a new hobby to keep my hands busy while I was in Zoom classes. So, yeah, this is actually the first big girl knitting project I've ever made. It is the Skagerrak by Elsa Schellerup. You are probably going to notice that this feels like it's stopping and starting a lot. That's because it is. I keep sneezing today, so that's not great. And also, I will be cutting out anything that sounds bad. So, this is the Skagerrak by Elsa Schellerup. If that is how you pronounce it. I looked it up and I'm trying, but please feel free to correct me. I would much rather give it a shot and be corrected than not try. It, I believe, was created for Filcolana, the yarn brand, but I used Murky Depths Mirage, their silk mohair, in Spring's Eternal, which I'm sure is from a couple years ago. I think it was even on sale when I bought it, so I don't think they make that color anymore. The dyer behind Murky Depths I actually met recently at a trunk show, and she was so lovely. And I love her yarns and her colorways. And the wool that I held with it was RhythmKnits Aleida Sock in Palm Sunday. So they just happened to be a really good match for each other. I like that the mohair is just slightly darker than the wool, so it really gives this like depth of heathering. Yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite pieces I ever made, which is funny because I think it's probably my second or third knitting project ever that I actually finished. When I was trying to pick up knitting a long time ago, I really struggled because I didn't like making like garter stitch scarves or coasters just because I got kind of bored. And so I realized actually the best way to really learn the craft would be to just start making something that I actually wanted. So I started with a cabled vest or something, like completely self-drafted. I didn't feel like looking at a pattern. And the only reason I don't still wear that is because it's made of acrylic. So I would actually really love to make that one again. But back to this, I, at the time, because this was my second project ever, really, I didn't realize that half fisherman's rib was like a higher level skill. I just thought it was a stitch pattern, so I just did it, and it turned out fine. There is a point where, I'm not sure if it's visible. There is a point where I accidentally forgot to do the cabling. So there is one row where that's missing, but it doesn't bother me enough to try and fix it, even if I was brave enough to try and fix it. But yeah, I really love this piece. It was kind of what made me fall in love with knitting, so I thought it was appropriate that I would wear it today. I am so sorry if this gets really long. I don't have a lot of real life knitting friends, so I find it hard to rein it in a little bit when I finally get to talk about my project. I know I've kind of talked my friends' ears off who don't knit, and I'm sure they aren't as enthusiastic, but you guys get it. That's what I love so much about watching other people's podcasts. So hopefully it doesn't get too rambly. But so I thought, because this is the first episode, I would just go through a bunch of projects that I finished recently this year. So I am doing what I'm calling a summer knits roundup. So I don't know, this might get long again. Apologies in advance. Apologies in advance. I think my mouth works faster than my brain sometimes. Okay, so we are starting off strong with my ribbed turtle tank by Jessie Made Designs. This was a test knit that I took part in a couple months ago. I knit the size 4 with the smallest option for bust darts, which was also my first time working bust darts. I think with the smallest option, there's not a huge difference, but I like the idea of it, and I am glad that I learned the technique doing this test knit, so I can apply it to other knits. There are a lot of great videos out there on how to apply bust darts to designs that don't have them for a better fit, and like when and where you might need them. My bust size isn't so, like, the difference between the upper bust and lower, or whatever the terms are. I generally don't always need it, especially if it's something that fits a bit looser, but I think it's a useful skill to know in case that becomes an issue. And with the way that bodies fluctuate, I think it's just good to know as many techniques to make a better fitting garment as possible. So again, tangent. I knit the size 4, smallest option for bust darts. The yarn is Laines soft Lino and the color Cayenne. It's 80% linen and 20% cotton, which makes a really lovely drapey and cooling fabric. So I got a lot of wear out of it this summer, and I am excited to get more out of it next summer. 2024, because of the 12-year cycle of the zodiac, is my zodiac year as a dragon. So I really have been wanting to integrate more red into my wardrobe, even if my social media accounts are titled Knitting in Green. I definitely do a lot of knitting in the color green, but I also do a lot of knitting in other colors too. But green is probably visibly my favorite. What else? I think that's it for this piece. I really enjoyed working on it. Jessie Made has a lot of incredible patterns. I think she said that it's sort of the DK weight sister to her Ripple bralette, which I have been eyeing, especially as a more size-inclusive version of those high-neck tank tops that kind of cut in more on the chest area. I do have other patterns like that, but they are not size-inclusive, so I think it's great to be able to support a designer who's doing good work. So that is my ribbed turtleneck tank. Oh, also, about the ribbed turtleneck tank, I used the full 200 grams or 540 yards of the Laines soft Lino. I honestly wish I had a little bit more of it, because there's this really cute split hem at the bottom of it. And I think because I had to bind off really tightly, and because I was running out of yarn, I didn't get to do it long enough, or the bind off just kind of pulls it in a way that I feel like makes you lose the effect of the split hem. So if I did it again, I would use a yarn that had more yardage, I think, even though I love this yarn. And I might knit this again for next summer in a different color. But that was my only issue, was that I ran out of yarn. And it's still perfectly wearable and I love it, but that is my one gripe with it. And any details should be either in the description or put somewhere on the screen here. I am not amazing at editing video on free software. I am pretty well versed with Adobe Premiere, which I am not paying for. So we will see how good this turns out. But yeah, we'll see if I manage to get photos and text on the screen. I do like when I feel like lately a lot of people have been putting their objects on hangers, and I think that looks pretty nice. So I'm trying to do that, but it takes a little extra effort, but I think it's worth it. Okay, this is my next, no, I'm gonna try and do it on this side. This is my next finished object. It's blowing out a little bit and it's a bit stretched out from wear, but this is a self-drafted tank top that I made. I'm calling it my self-drafted backless boat neck tank. It's made in Knitting for Olive pure silk in the colorway Pink Daisies, which my sister very generously picked up for me when she was in Copenhagen, which was pretty fun. Yeah, she went for herself, and when I heard she was going, I was like, please, can you go yarn shopping for me? So I wound up, like waking up at 5 in the morning just so that I could be online when she was at the yarn store, just so I could make sure that she got the yarn that I wanted. So thank you, Isabel. It's a pretty simple construction. I think I would like to maybe write a pattern for it, maybe for next summer, who knows, just because I like the design. I know boat necks are kind of having a moment right now, or at least did this summer, and I'm not sure that they're still going to be as, as popular next year. But that doesn't matter that much to me. I was honestly surprised that I got kind of influenced into making one myself, just because generally I like to try and wait, but I just really wanted to cast something on that would be quick. Well, as quick as it can be when it's pure silk on 2.75 millimeter needles. But I did finish this in only a couple weeks, maybe in under 1 week, just because I really wanted to see it done. So the way it's constructed is top down. I started with this front panel, and then I made these back panels and connected in the round, or not quite in the round yet. I did some work flat, and then I connected it in the round around here. There's also these ribbed, it's 100% 1x1 rib fabric, with the rib kind of traveling to accentuate the waist. So there's the traveling rib to accentuate the waist, as well as shaping around the armholes to make it fit a little bit better. The armholes definitely gaped a lot when I was done because of the way that the silk stretches. So I actually crocheted just like clear nylon thread, which I did not do a very good job of weaving my ends in. But yeah, I really love this top. I think it's really pretty, even though the way that I was doing my increases and decreases kind of creates holes. It's fine with me. I don't really care. It doesn't matter to me if my hand knits look like they came out of a store or not. It's mostly just a matter of if I like them and if I wear them. I did bust darts on this as well, because this was right after I finished the rib turtleneck tank, and I was really excited to see if I could use them. So I'm not sure if you can see. Probably not, because I don't think the camera knows what to do with this bright of a pink color. But there are bust darts. I do think it helps it fit a little bit better. And I did notice one time I tried to see if I could style this backwards as like a harness vest situation, but it looked so weird because the shaping of the bust darts created this like billow in the back when I did that, which makes sense because the shaping is meant to accommodate volume in the front. So that's not gonna work, but I really love this. It was a really great summer top. I could probably try and even like layer it over a button down. I think that might be cute, but definitely a piece for the summer and really happy with it. Might write up a pattern once I figure out how to grade patterns. That's the main thing stopping me from turning any of my self-drafted pieces into patterns. I'd really love to do it, but I think it's so overwhelming, and I would really love to turn my self-drafted pieces into patterns. It's just overwhelming and I don't really know where to start. But I just have to kind of, I think, bite the bullet and go for it. But yeah, knitting for Olive pure silk in Pink Daisies on 2.75 millimeter needles. It only used 2 balls of the pure silk, and I really tried to squeeze out a full piece with every single bit that I had, and I think I have maybe 12 inches left of yarn. I am so sorry if I keep just moving this around. I don't really know what to do with my hands. So sorry. Next, so this is the dumpling bag by Pearl Soho-ish. I definitely did not knit the measurements to pattern. I was just kind of, I read over the construction of it. And I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty simple. I can just figure it out. And it's fine, but it is a little lumpy looking. And that could be my tension, and that could be the yarn. So I use Cascade Ultra Pima in Jasmine Green, which is a DK weight 100% cotton yarn. And I definitely did not use the right needle size. I think I just used what I had on hand. I think it was a 3 millimeter. And it's okay. Like, it's definitely, you can see my tension issues, which again does not really bother me because I don't need my knits to look extremely professional. It's kind of, I like that superstition about how your project needs to have at least one mistake to keep the devil away or something. I mean, I think it's fun. That's definitely a superstition that I subscribe to. Not because of the actual devil part, but because I think it's fine to make mistakes. Unless it's a gift. If it's a gift, I'm kind of less, I prefer to not have mistakes. But yeah, the fabric is a little wonky. It's not super practical because I don't think knitted fabrics are really great for bags anyways, unless they're super dense or like color work or something. But it was a fun, easy project, really good movie knitting. I think I made, it's nice that it's a free pattern, but I think what I did accidentally was I made it too long. I cast on provisionally at the bottom. No, I didn't. I lied. That's what it says to do. It says to do a provisional cast on. I did not do that. I did Judy's Magic cast on because I didn't want to have to do that Kitchener, which is fine. I don't really think that makes a huge difference, but that is something that I did different to the pattern. And then I think these straps I also did not do the correct measurements, but it's fine with me. I've still used it. I think it's cute. I'd like to put a scrunchie here or something, just because I feel like this looks, I don't know, something about the proportions looks kind of sloppy. So I do kind of like to cover this bit. But it's a good, like, if I'm just going out to pick something up small, or, you know, just going out for dinner or something and I don't really need like a big bag, or I can use this as a small secondary shopping bag to put in my normal bag. But it's definitely not like a workhorse project or anything. But I like it. I think it was a fun project. I would definitely make another one. Maybe more to pattern, or like off gauge enough to where the fabric ends up being really dense. I think it could also be a really good gift knit if it doesn't look the sloppy. But I like it. I enjoyed it. It's a free pattern. I can't really ask for more than that for a free pattern. So yeah, especially if I did kind of went rogue on a lot of the instructions. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I've ever had any project where my tension looks this sloppy, but it's kind of fine. I like it. It's cute. I think I could also use this to just hold yarn, which would be cute as well. I'm so sorry that you can see this giant pile of stuff on my bed. I store most of my wool knits in plastic bags because I had a bit of a carpet beetle scare a couple months ago. So now everything that I make that's made of wool is protected by being in a bag and then in a box. And I have to shake things around pretty regularly because I'm scared. But it's fine. It's all handled. Nothing to worry about. Oh, another disclaimer. If you hear a buzzing noise, it is because it is really warm in my room because I get a lot of sunlight and I can't be wearing wool when it's really warm, so I have a fan on. I'm not sure if you can hear it, but if you can, that's what that is. If you hear a clicking noise, it is because I have a cat clock back there, which is really cute, but it makes a clicking noise, which I'm used to. But again, I'm not sure if you can hear it in the video. So if you can, I apologize for that. Also, I live in New York, so if you hear car noises, that is what that is. And you never know. I don't think there's been anything yet, knock on wood, but I guess we'll see. Okay, so I'm pretty sure I have this the right way. It's kind of hard to tell. Or maybe... I don't know. It's hard to tell. There's short rows in this, but I don't know where they are, and, no, it's backwards. It's like this. That's more like it. Yes, okay. So, this is the Look at My Holes by James & Watts. Definitely one of my favorite designers these days. I feel like all of his pieces are, like, silhouettes are very classic, but the concepts and the techniques and the designs are a little eclectic and funky. And I feel like that resonates with me a lot. So I really enjoy his designs. So this is Look at My Holes by James & Watts. I knit it in Berocco Modern Cotton. Modern Cotton? Yes. Berocco Modern Cotton, which is DK weight, 100% cotton. I used 196 grams of yarn for this. I wish I had used that last 4, because I hate having leftover yarn, because I never know what to do with it. But 4 grams is okay. It's for a cotton yarn. I don't feel like that much is wasted. I'm sure I'll find a use for it. Modifications are, I made it long sleeve, just because I felt like I would get more wear out of it. Although if that's doing there. If I hadn't, maybe I only would have needed 1 skein of yarn. Well, no. Well, yes, actually, I would have only needed 1 skein of yarn, I think, if I had done short sleeve, but I like the long sleeve. I think it's more versatile for my own wardrobe. And also on this sleeve, I somehow wound up with like 16 less stitches than I was supposed to have. I'm not sure where that happened. When I started the sleeve, I had the right amount of stitches. And then halfway through, I counted and I was like, this seems wrong. And I realized I had the wrong amount, but I did not want to go back and fix the lace. So I just added them in. And I don't think you can tell when I wear it. So that's my little secret. Yeah, I really love this. I, again, wish I had done it a little earlier in the summer, just so I could have gotten more wear out of it in the summer. But I've already worn it a couple times in the fall, so I think it's pretty versatile. I am so sorry if you can hear my phone. It's I have recently gotten really into playing Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and I was texting my friend about how sad it was that my horse died, because I didn't know that horses could die in that game. And she's telling me that you can revive them at the horse fountain. The more you know. Yeah, so that is my look at my holes. I don't think there's anything else I have to say about it, but I really enjoy it. Really enjoyed the pattern. James & Watts' writing style, I think, is really straightforward and succinct. Like, it gives you all the tools you need. I'm not sure I would recommend a lot of his products for complete beginners, just because I think he usually uses techniques that are a bit more involved, which I like about it. And I like that he doesn't hold your hand through everything. I mean, I think a beginner definitely could use one of his patterns. But I think what I like about it is that they don't over-explain things the way that I think a lot of patterns geared towards beginners tend to do. My preference tends to be a bit more of a bare bones pattern that just gives you exactly what you need. Just because I don't really feel like I need a lot of explanation. I need to know how you can swatch and the instructions on how to make it. I don't really feel like I need a lot of additional help, but I do think it's great when people offer that. The next 2 projects are related, so I will show them together. But these are my flower scrunchies. They're so cute. Posing for thumbnails. Okay, so these are my flower scrunchies. I was really inspired by the Sandy Liang flower scrunchies that are pretty much the exact same shape and concept, except hers are they're very the idea is the exact same, but hers are sewn satin, and I think also filled with fluff. These are empty, but I could fill them. And they're also $118, which, good for her. But I simply do not have $118 to be spending on a scrunchie, but I do have $30 to spend on hand-dyed yarn and plenty of time on my hands. So this is the first iteration. I knit this in Fully Spun Original Fingering in the colorway Majestic. They are a Boston-based yarn dyer who I think is unfortunately no longer dyeing. But I picked this yarn up when I was at Boston Fibre Company a couple months ago. I love that little store. So many great yarns. And this colorway was, I think, one of their Pride colorways. So cute. And because it's rainbow, it'll go with everything. But I think there's a couple issues that you can see pretty straight away with this sample, with this project. The first is that it looks a bit more like a star because the petals are really pointy, which is also very cute, so I'm not mad about that. But it's not exactly the look I was going for. And the second is that I knit it for a little too long, so it's got kind of like it looks a little silly from the back, and when I wear it, no one will know. But the proportions are off, you can tell pretty clearly. But I mean, if you hide the petals, that's a pretty cute scrunchie just on its own. But the whole point was the petals. It's just the proportions were off. I held the yarn double, so it's a DK weight. And I love the fabric and the look of the variegation. I think it's so pretty. So I held it double, and my original thought was to try and use all 100 grams of it, and now I realize that was crazy because this is 55 grams of the yarn held double. And so using 100 would just simply be crazy, but that means that I have 45 more grams to make another one. So I probably will make another one. Maybe not anytime soon, just because I already have this one. But this is another project that I would like to turn into a pattern. So before I did that, I wanted to do another one just to make sure I could iron out all those kinks. I probably should have done it in the same yarn, so I would have gotten a better idea of how the changes I would make actually affect it. So I guess that'll be my second Majestic scrunchie. But instead, I made this one. This is my second sample that has the changes that I made that were intended to basically be an improvement on that one. But as you can tell, it is a completely different size. Yeah, I think this is really a great lesson in gauge because these are made on the exact same needles. But this one was in 75-25 or 80-20, not sure, sock yarn, superwash sock yarn. And this is Qing Fibre Melted Baby Suri, which has no elasticity. So, and I mean, I think it's considered a sport weight. This is technically a DK. So I think it's really just the fiber properties that made it so ridiculous. And this is only 50 grams. And the reason it's so large is because I was determined to use up every last bit. It is probably... It's probably maybe like 20 stitches bigger or something, which I guess also adds to the, or like, it's constructed kind of like this way. So I think I added some stitches in between, and I changed the rate of the shaping for the petals. But I think the main thing that would have caused such a huge disparity in sizes is the fact that it's in a completely different yarn. But I like that. I think it's really fun that from the same pattern or concept, you can have completely different projects. And I would love to make a bunch of samples in a bunch of different kinds of yarn, because I would like to make this into a pattern. And because the construction is so simple, I think it'd be a really great way to use up, like random 50 grams left of yarn that you have left over from another project. So you could have a matching flower scrunchie for a sweater that you made, or a way to like use up a single skein of hand-dyed yarn that you don't know what to deal with, I think it would be really cute to have that as a little stash buster. And you get a really fun project out of it. I will say this one is probably more wearable for just about anyone because it is a more moderate size. And this one is like the size, it's kind of bigger than my head. You can still see it when it's behind my head, which is honestly kind of fun. It's kind of like a beret almost, you know, when people wear berets kind of behind their head. I think it's really fun and I really love it. So I will definitely be making more of these as I figure out how to write that pattern. I think there's also a couple different ways that you can construct these. So I'm interested in maybe trying out those different methods for people who prefer different types of construction. But it really is pretty simple. And I do hope to make a pattern. So if anyone's interested, please let me know. I would definitely love to have other people make these. The next project I don't actually have because I gave it away to my mom because it was a gift for her. But maybe I'll pop in some footage of the first version of this podcast that I didn't post. It was the Laulu shawl by Sari Nordland, which was my first time working with a Sari Nordland pattern. And I thought it was really clear and well written and really easy. I finished the whole thing in a day. Although I do think, for my preference, the pattern has more information and more pages than it really needs to. But that's a personal preference thing. I'm sure a lot of people are really grateful for how much information is in there, but I don't think it needed all that. But it was really lovely. I made it in Cardiff Cashmere in the shade Indigo. But unfortunately I had like 11 grams left over, which I don't really know what to do with 11 grams of really nice cashmere yarn. But we'll see. But yeah, my mom really liked it. It was really nice to do something so bite-sized and easy, and to do cables and lace, which both of which I really love doing. So I'll try to insert some footage of that piece in here, but I don't have it anymore. Next finished objects are my tabby socks, which are ridiculously long and kind of silly looking, but I kind of love that. So this is them. Motorcycle. These are my tabby socks. I knit them because I recently got some tabby shoes and I really wanted some hand knit socks to wear in them, even though I also have store-bought tabby socks. What was really fun about these was that they're made out of Gusto Wool Echoes, which is it's just like a regular sock yarn. The merino nylon splits I can never remember because some are 75-25, some are 80-20, some are 73. But I'll try to write it on the screen. But as you can see, the yarn creates this really cool gradient. And it actually comes in 2 separate 50-gram skeins, so you don't have to split it yourself. And I thought that would be a good opportunity to see how far a 50-gram worth of sock yarn can actually get you, which is much further than I thought it would. This is kind of an impractically long sock because I have really big calves, and actually the top of it has a really hard time stretching over my large legs. Which is fine. I actually kind of like them when they're scrunched, sort of like leg warmers. But yeah, in my head, like 50 grams would get you an ankle sock, which is just simply not true. And even I made these on 2mm needles, and even with that dense of a fabric, it's still quite long. But that's fine with me. I think it's cute. I made this top down. I actually cast them on last November. So it took me almost a year to make these socks. But I wound up actually having to unravel the cuff because they were too tight and they just would never have stretched nearly enough. So I had to unravel ribbing from the back end, which sucked. Actually, next time I might just cut in and then Kitchener graft because that is way better than having I don't know if you've ever tried to unravel ribbing from the back end, but it's just like not something about the way that the yarn twists itself. you have to pass the yarn through the loops. Otherwise it just doesn't unravel properly, and it's horrible. So I wouldn't wish that on anyone. So I did them top down, had to redo this cuff. Just went down, and then I believe this is a 68 stitches, I think. Then actually I did top down with an afterthought heel, so this was at last. And then I followed these tabby toe instructions that will be linked on the Ravelry page. I don't remember exactly who wrote them up, but for the heel and toes, I used Kelborn Woolen's Perennial in the shade Neon Lime, and a strand of the thread that comes with the long Yowl sock yarn, like the little spool that comes inside of it. I thought I had one around here, but I don't know. I have a ton of those because I used a lot of long Yowl to for some other projects that I made last year, but I never used that thread. So I used that for the heels and toes because I thought that would be a fun marl and a good way to use that up. You can actually see I've only worn these maybe twice since I finished them, but it's already started to felt a bit, which is kind of interesting to see at work. I mean, like, I know I made hand knit socks before, but I feel like they haven't in the past felted this much this fast. So I'll be interested in seeing how that wears. But yeah, they're really fun. They're kind of ridiculous. But this is the kind of thing that I wear, so it works perfectly for me. The afterthought heel, honestly, is my preferred heel method because I don't like the way that short row heels look. I always get holes in like where the short rows happen, and so I just don't love the way that it looks when it's stretched over the foot, and I hate picking up stitches for a heel flap and gusset. So I prefer doing the afterthought heel that kind of just looks like a third toe, or not a third toe, it's like you do the toe and then you do another toe for the heel. That's my preferred method of heels. But I like making socks, but I get really bored really fast, but also I don't like doing textured or color work. Well, I've never done a color work sock. Actually, no, that's not true. I'm working on one now. I like that. But it's just kind of a lot of effort for something really small. So I tend to make vanilla socks, but because I get really bored making them, it tends to take me a year to make. I maybe make like one pair of socks a year, which is sad because I thought I was gonna be one of those girlies who makes socks for all their friends and family, but I have a bunch of half-finished socks that I never finished because I got bored. So I don't know, maybe life will change. We'll see. But those are my tabby socks. So fun. I will try to insert a picture of me wearing them with my tabby shoes, which I really love. They're from Mary Lowe, a really cute small business based out of Texas that makes tabby shoes, and I love them. This is the longest project I have ever worked on in terms of time spent since starting to finishing. This beautiful thing, ta-da, is the Angkor Wat shawl by Megan Goke, which is also a free pattern on Ravelry, which is one of the main reasons that I chose it, but also because I actually went to Angkor Wat in late 2019, early 2020. I can't remember exactly what the dates were. I think it actually might have been right at the beginning of 2020. But I went to Angkor Wat with my family right before COVID hit. And so I thought it was really cool that this shawl was designed inspired by some of the statues that we saw while we were there. Maybe I'll insert a picture of myself on vacation over there visiting the temples. It's a really, really beautiful place. And it was really cool to see a design inspired by a place in like Southeast Asia, as opposed to, I think most knitwear tends to be designed with like Nordic countries in mind. I think it's always really exciting when people make designs inspired by other cultures. So this is a top-down triangular shawl pattern, which is what made it take so long for me to finish, because by the end there were maybe almost 600 stitches on my needles, and it took me so long to get through a single row. But the finished product is so lovely, and I can't wait to get a lot of wear out of it this fall and winter. The yarn that I used is Galler Yarns Prime Heather Alpaca, something like that. It is a 100% alpaca yarn with this really, let me see if I can show this. This really cool marling between these. I think it's got a brown base and then these red and green fibers kind of spun throughout. So it's got this really cool heathering effect that's got a bit of red and a bit of green. And the skeins they come in, I think, like 227 gram skeins or something like that. So it ends up being really cost effective, even though each individual skein is pretty expensive. And because I had so much of it, I was like, okay, how am I going to use as much of this as possible without any leftovers? Which I did have leftovers, and I don't know what to do with those either. But I thought a shawl would be a really great way to do that. Yeah, I don't think I will ever be making a shawl of this exact construction ever again because it hurt my hands so badly to do the wrong side rows. Maybe something in garter stitch. I have a different shawl that I made with a similar construction that is in garter stitch, so it wasn't as hard on the hands. But this one was definitely a labor of love. More of a product knit than a process knit for me, for sure, because I did not ever want to reach for it as a project, and because it's alpaca, it got so warm, so the time I was able to actually spend on it was pretty limited. But I think it took me about 1.5 years to finish this, which never happens because I like to finish projects as soon as possible. But I'm glad it's over. And I would recommend the pattern because I think it's pretty easy to follow, even if it is really bare bones. And the designer also includes a link to a spreadsheet that says row by row how many stitches you're supposed to have, which I found really helpful. What else? Oh, the colorway of this yarn is Tundra. And yeah, it introduced me to some really interesting techniques, like this, the lace, I think the pattern calls them flowers, is really cute. But I think the real showstopper is this section right here with this sort of like triangular traveling stitches. I believe the pattern called them Barfy Stitch, and I think it is so gorgeous. And I would love to find a way to use that stitch pattern in another project. But yeah, the whole final edge was so time consuming because it took a lot of concentration. Every row was slightly different. But it was so rewarding because this is so beautiful. So yeah, gorgeous pattern, gorgeous project. I'm already overheating holding this thing, so I will have to put it away. But longest running project finally completed. Okay, sorry, my computer decided to stop recording, but I think I didn't lose anything, so it should be fine. But it's okay, I had to cut it anyways. So this huge thing, I finally get to talk about. This was a secret test knit that I did back in April, I think. But I finally get to talk about it because the book that it's from is out for pre-order now. So this is the Jorvin by Rastus Shoe. It is a bottom-up bulky weight, I think. Boucle colorwork cabled vest. It's huge in a fun way, in my opinion. And I chose to do it in a very garish but fun color combo. I think every other test knitter did like some kind of neutral combination, and then I was like, what if I did brights, which is definitely more my style. This is so thick and warm that I do think I might have some actual trouble wearing it, which again, I might also have trouble wearing it because it's a crazy color combination, but I love it. I'm obsessed with it. Like, how fun would it be to wear this with it? Isn't that crazy? Isn't that fun? I love it. I did not use the suggested yarn. It just wasn't really something that I think would have been easy for me to get a hold of. But I used a combination of Knit Picks palette in the colors Cosmopolitan and the yarn. Knit Picks palette, 1 strand in Celestial for the blue and Cosmopolitan for the pink, and 2 strands of Knit Picks Bubbly Boucle in Popping Candy for the pink and Carbonation for the blue. I used just about every last bit of the blue, and I had to actually ask someone on Ravelry to supplement a little bit more. And I had a teeny little bit left over of the pink, which is pretty much bang on for what the pattern suggested. I knew I would be a little bit short on yarn, but I actually tend to have leftovers, so I was like, maybe I don't use that much yarn when I knit, but that simply was not true. So I did run out of the blue, but I was able to get more, and I love how this came out. I do have to get some better pictures of myself wearing it. I don't really know how to photograph myself wearing my knits very well. I tend to just take mirror selfies, but I will be trying some new photography stuff in the hopes of getting a better picture to post on Instagram. But in the meantime, I love this thing. I don't think I would have made something like this if it wasn't a test knit, which I think is kind of the magic of a test. It gets you to sometimes be a little out of your comfort zone. I love Rasashu's designs. I've made a couple of them before, and I've tested for him before. I think it's really cool to see a contemporary knitwear designer out of Taiwan. I know, I think Irene Lin is also Taiwanese. But I am always happy to support Asian knitwear designers at any point. And I'm really excited to figure out how to wear this once the weather gets like properly cold. I think it's still maybe a little too warm for fall temperatures, but I think once it hits winter, fingers crossed, it'll be really fun to wear this out. And so hopefully you'll see more of it on my Instagram, maybe in future episodes. Yeah, this is definitely like big statement piece. Like, one of the exciting things to me about making knits is that I get to make things that I wouldn't be able to just purchase off the rack. And this is definitely like 100% like, or, well, I think there's some nylon in the boucle, but like wool alpaca boucle colorwork cabled vest that is this large and ridiculous. I would be paying a huge premium if I tried to buy this off the rack. And I mean, the yarn was not cheap for sure, but I really enjoy making it, and I'm very excited to have it. The Jorvin is part of Laina magazine, or Laina Publishing? Laina Magazines? It's part of Laina Publishing's 52 weeks of bulky knits? 52 weeks of bulky something, which is available now for pre-order, and I think will be available in the beginning of November. So it was really cool to work on a pattern that was going to be in a book like that. And even though bulky weight knits are usually not really my thing, again, it was really cool to be able to work on that. It worked up really fast because of it. And I think all the designs that are in that book are really cool. One of the designers in that book, their Instagram is Clary Berry. I've been eyeing their stuff for ages, but because I don't already have a lot of bulky weight stuff in the stash, I haven't really bit the bullet. But I don't know, maybe I'll pick up the book. Maybe I'll pick up one of their patterns. But I think it's really cool to see funky designs like that in publications. Even if they're not something that I necessarily feel like I'm going to make a lot of, it's just really cool to see the variety of designs there are out there. And I'm really excited that that design and that book are finally coming out, and I finally get to talk about it, because I've been sitting on that thing since April. Yeah, so that is my Jorvin by Rasa Shoe. Definitely check it out if you have the chance, and if you're interested in a fun, quick boucle bulky knit. Okay, so now that those finished projects are covered, I think we can go over some works in progress. In the original version of this video, I showed pretty much every project that I currently have on the needles, which was nice, but I think actually this time I'm going to leave a couple. Well, nah, I'm just going to show all of them. Okay. So, my works in progress. I will try to speed through these a little bit more than I did the last time I tried to record this, just because I have a lot to say, but I don't really think I have a lot to show for it. So this is the first one. This is also most certainly a labor of love, because this is black yarn, fingering weight on 2mm needles, which, I don't know, maybe I'm a bit of a masochist or something, because that's kind of crazy. Okay, so this is what I am calling my boned corset tank. It is inspired by the designer Dion Lee. Has these really gorgeous corset style tank tops that are pretty much the same kind of like wide shoulder silhouette with boning. So I'm actually inserting this plastic boning in by making these channels, and that's what all these stitch markers are delineating. And that is why this project is such an ordeal. It's also knit flat because with the boning, I'll need to open it up on the side in order to get in and out of it. So it's 2mm knit flat with all sorts of increasing and decreasing to shape the boning channels. And it's in all black yarn, so I can only really work on it when I have light. But I think the idea is really cool. Again, similar to the scrunchies, because the original product is really expensive, I just don't have that kind of budget. But I figured it was something that I could engineer myself in terms of knitting. So I'm working on it. I don't think this is going to get done until maybe next summer, which is perfect because that's probably when I'm going to wear it the most. Yeah, I mean, one of my friends, Arabella, if you're watching this, hey, she said that I should make a pattern out of this, but I don't know if I will because I don't think I would wish this knitting experience on anyone. It would also be really complicated, I think, to figure out the shaping for different sizes. But yeah, I don't think I would wish 2mm needles on knitting flat for a tank top on anyone. But I don't know, if there's interest, maybe I'll do it. But Arabella, maybe I will write instructions just for you, even though I know you're not going to actually make it. Yeah, so that is my boned corset tank. Not much to show there. I don't really see myself making much progress on it in the next couple of months, so you might not see it for a while if you ever see it again. Okay, my next work in progress is this. This is the back panel of a lacy, cable-y type top that I'm self-drafting. Here. God, it looks so nice. Okay, I need to work on this more because it is so pretty. This is inspired by a out-of-print Japanese knitting pattern that I saw pictures of when I was browsing Ravelry. There are a couple projects on Ravelry, but I think it was printed in some kind of magazine that you just can't get here anymore. So I figured I could probably reverse engineer it from the photo, and I think I did a pretty good job. And I'll try to insert maybe some photos of it if I can find some. But this is pretty involved. I have to be paying pretty close attention because it's twisted rib and it's increasing and decreasing and whatnot on every single row, including the wrong side. And it's also got these smocked bits, which, yeah, it's just kind of involved. So it's difficult to work on for long periods of time and while doing other things. So I haven't gotten much done with it, but I think it's so pretty. And it's using this really special yarn that I got on a trip to New Zealand earlier this year from Chimera Alpacas, an alpaca farm that we visited. And I got to meet the alpacas and I got to buy the yarn like right from the farm. It was actually crazy. We went for the tour and it did get a little cut short because it started like torrentially downpouring. So for the longest time, because it's on this big hill, we were just kind of stuck there because only one car could really leave at a time, but also nobody really wanted to be driving in that rain because it was so hard to see and the roads were just so twisty and turny. So we kind of just like wound up waiting in the shop for a long time and, you know, like hanging out with the alpacas under the, like indoors, just because it was so wet and rainy outside and all of us were kind of stuck there. But I was gonna buy the yarn anyways. That's kind of half of what I was looking forward to going to New Zealand was the yarn shopping. But it was really cool to, you know, meet the people who worked there and learn about, you know, the history of their farm and like wool farming in New Zealand. It was a really cool trip. And I'm really happy to have this beautiful yarn that I get to use to kind of remember that and make a beautiful project. So I only have 300 grams of this, which I don't think will be enough to make a proper like long sleeve top. Although granted, this I would say is maybe a fifth of what I need for the back panel. And I feel like I could get the back panel out of this. So I could maybe make a short-ish sleeve sweater. I'm not sure. I will definitely be playing yarn chicken with this, but I think it's really pretty and I'm very excited to have it. I just need to keep working on it. I don't think I would make a pattern out of this one though, because it is directly based off of an existing designer's work. But I'm really excited to see how this one shapes up. And I think maybe now that the weather's getting a little colder, I'll be more excited to work with 100% alpaca. It's just so soft and it's so pretty. So yeah, hopefully you will see more of this next time. I think it is so gorgeous. Okay, the next work in progress is going to be a bit hard to show just because of where it is. So this is also made in Knitting for Olive yarn that my sister picked up for me in Copenhagen. And I'm not sure if you can see this properly, but it is going to be a qipao style top. So it's got the mandarin collar and then the diagonal button band. It's going to be pretty close fitted. It's a contiguous construction, self-drafted. I'm using lifted increases for the first time, which I'm not sure are very invisible in this cotton yarn, but I do like how they're coming out. It's really difficult to show, but I will try and insert a picture of the last time I tried it on. And I just put the armholes on hold, and I'll be doing a little bit more of this, the flat shaping before I join in the round, but it's coming out really well. I love this fabric in this yarn. I think it's real. I understand what people mean by, like when they say that they love the Knitting for Olive cotton merino. I've never worked with it before and I've wanted to try it for a while, and it's been nice to work on it in this lovely green color. But it's pretty slow going because it's flat, and because it's not really summer anymore, I'm like not that motivated to work on it, but I would like to see it through. I've got all these ideas of how to do the finishings, to do the buttons along the placket area, just because I had a whole thing with frog closures on a knitted garment before, where I was trying to order frog closures, but I couldn't find ones in a good color match, so I wound up making them myself with this guy, the Cordsmith, which, lifesaver, by the way, if you don't like making I-cords, which I mean, it's fine, I can do it, but this thing makes life so much easier. I mean, it's like versatile in a lot of ways, but I think you only really can make one size of I-cord depending on what what yarn weight you're using. But in general, I find it super useful for making I-cord, and I've used it to do I-cord bind-offs and I-cord, like picking up, when you pick up along a finished edge and do an I-cord, whatever that's called. I've used that for that before, and it does make life a lot easier. But yeah, I've used this before for that purpose. I don't know if I want to be doing full knitted I-cord custom-made frog closures on this one, just because I think I could do something a little bit similar, but I have to wait until I finish that shaping before I can test it out. So I'm hoping to get some more progress done on this soon so that I get to test out my theories of techniques. But for the moment, I'm just not that excited about working on it, to be honest. So it's been kind of sitting around, but hopefully soon. Yeah, so that is my cotton merino qipao top, also self-drafted. As you can probably tell by now, I do a lot of self-drafting. Sometimes it works out really well, and sometimes it does not, which leads me to my next work in progress, if I can remember where I put it. Make my little matcha. Does anyone else ever, like, when you're in the kitchen using a kitchen scale for anything other than yarn, like, look at what you're measuring and just think, I'm eating a skein's worth of yarn in noodles right now? Because I think about that a lot. Anyways, so this is definitely a self-drafted struggle that I'm really trying to make work, but I don't know if it is really in the cards for me. So I saw this lovely Noro Ito in the shade Nabari on sale at my local yarn store, and I picked it up because I was like, I have to have it. It's on sale, it's gorgeous, and I'm sure I'll be able to make something out of it with no plan, which was my first mistake. I should never be buying yarn with no plan, because that is just a recipe for disaster. But here I am. So this was my first idea. It was inspired by the Beads of Joy by James and Watts, the sort of like modular Noro gradation. This was my first idea. And it's fine. I like the idea of it. I just don't know that I would really wear this very much. It's just kind of not my style. I like the idea. I don't like making it. That is what I realized very quickly after making this front panel. I don't like working on this sort of like undulating modular construction. And I think that, well, I don't think I made it very easy for myself, because instead of like making one panel and then picking up along the edge and making the next one, I kind of just like cast on and would just connect it every row, which I do think made it more difficult than it had to be. But I also just don't think I like the way this looks. Maybe it's the proportion of the columns. It's just something about it is not something that I think I'm going to reach for in my closet. So I'm scrapping this idea. Although this, I think, I don't know, I can make this into a pillow cover just to use up some of the yarn, but I'm not sure. So I don't love that. So I think I'm scrapping that. Then I was like, what if I tried that modular idea, but with just vertical panels, so the math is easier. I could even like mark out with stitch markers to make sure that it's much easier to stay on the right amount of rows. And what if I tried cables? Because I love making cables. And I think that was an interesting idea. This one is definitely just too wide, because then the stripes end up being really thin, and I don't really love the way that looks. But I don't have enough faith in this concept to try and make a whole garment out of modular cables. So I don't really know what to do with this yarn, because I love it in theory and I love the way it works up, but I'm not really sure what to do with it in a way that looks interesting, that I'll actually wear. And maybe I don't actually like the yarn. I mean, I do. When I look at it, I'm like, oh, that's so pretty. The colors are so cool. I love that it makes like a gradient. I love these sort of like warm, rich tones and browns in this yarn, but I'm really struggling to find a way to work on it that'll make a product that I actually like. Or maybe it's just not the yarn for me. Like, I guess I could resell it. I think it would be kind of a shame, but I don't really know what to do with it. So if anyone has recommendations on other modular patterns or other patterns that utilize like this sort of gradient type yarn, I thought about maybe doing some kind of like color work with maybe like just two separate balls of it, so that they kind of just gradate in different ways and the color work would show up differently. But I don't know how effective that would be. I don't really want to make a cardigan, because I don't need another brown cardigan, because I already have two. So I would prefer to do some kind of pullover. I'm really not interested in doing wool homewares, because, as I mentioned before, I had a carpet beetle scare, so I don't really want things that just kind of like sit untouched out in the open. So I would prefer to have a garment, but I just don't know. I could also try crochet. One of the things I liked about this colorway was that I feel like all of the colors that are in it appear in like Klimt paintings. I feel like this is a very Klimt type color palette. But I don't know, I saw a pattern for a crochet granny square Klimt inspired type blanket, and I could apply that idea to some kind of granny square crochet, or like just radially constructed piece, but that's just, it's requiring a lot of brain power that I don't have, and I guess I would probably rather use that on other projects. So I'm not sure. Oh, I just broke it. Okay, so this is in timeout. I don't know what to do with it. And another reason that I wanted to start podcasting was because I thought maybe one of you guys would have an idea. So I don't know. You tell me. Should I scrap it? Should I sell the yarn? Should I try something else? Should I just embrace the kind of ugly? Well, not ugly. That's not very nice. Yeah, I don't know what to do with it. I think it would be a shame not to use the yarn because it's so beautiful, but you know, I'm sure there's always someone else who'd be able to make better use of it than me. So that is my modular Noro struggle. We're almost done. Thank you for bearing with me. This is my off-gauge mini mock neck tank by Jessie Made Designs. And I am making this out of some very, very exciting yarn from Murky Depths Dyeworks. It is the Yakapaka lace and Yakima fingering. So the Yakapaka lace is 41% alpaca, 36% silk, 13% merino, and 10% yak. And the Yakima fingering is 65% superwash merino, 20% silk, and 15% yak. And it is deliciously soft. It is so beautiful. And the colorway for both is Saint Remy, which is this really beautiful like gray base with just like chartreuse and like reddish purple and blue variegated all throughout with a bit of black. It's so pretty. Actually, it goes really well with this silk shirt. I would probably wear it the same way as I'm wearing this one. I mean, I love the chartreusey green color. And yeah, I was really excited about this. I did not plan on buying this, but then I was at the New York Yarn Crawl and the dyer was there and we were talking and it looked so beautiful. Actually, she had a sample of this yarn, or the fingering weight yarn, like woven, and that was gorgeous. I'm really bad at weaving. I've tried. I mean, I guess I could improve if I did more of it, but it looked so beautiful in a woven fabric that I was like, I need to have this knitted. And it is a joy to work with. It is so deliciously soft. I had some issues where I was doing a center pull when I really should not have, and it kept tangling on itself. So what I've noticed is the nubs that can't come off it are like, you can't see that. The nubs that come off are they're like black. They're like black little fuzz balls from when it got tangled up with itself, which is pretty interesting. I've never seen a yarn do exactly that before. But that also means they're pretty easy to identify, so I can remove them. And I think once it's fully knit up, maybe it'll pill a little bit, but I think the bulk of the issue was because I kept getting knots because I decided to center pull when I should not have. But I would say I'm like 70% done with it. I've been doing, it's off gauge because it's a thicker yarn than what's called for in the pattern. So I think I'm knitting a medium, like based on stitch count, but at a larger gauge, so it fits me properly, and I'm usually a large or the 4th size in Jessie Made patterns. But the fit is pretty good. I did not swatch because I was just too excited to get going. But it has not done me wrong yet. I've been doing waist decreases as well because I was worried about yardage, but now that I'm approaching the end, I actually don't think I'm gonna have any problems. What else to say? Doing waist decreases, I thought I was going to run out. Oh yeah, I think the yardage that I had was a little bit under, I think, the amount that it said I would need. But again, I'm knitting off gauge. And the Yakima fingering has a lot of yardage, actually. It has 523 yards for a fingering weight yarn for the, it's 120 grams, that's why. It's 120 grams, I did not know that. Yeah, so I'm going to definitely have more of the fingering weight left over when I'm done, assuming that I knit it so that I'll have no lace weight left. But I'm sure I can come up with like a baby scarf or like a bow or something that'll use the rest of it. I really dislike having leftover yarn because I never really want to work on a scrappy project, but I may have to just suck it up at some point. But yeah, that is my mini mock neck slipover, I guess. Not really much of a tank. I don't think I would wear it on its own, let alone in the summer. But I'm really excited about that. I made almost all of that in the first day that I cast it on. And then I was like, wait, I need to slow down on this because I cast it on so I would have easy knitting in the round for when I was on the subway or watching movies. And then I just enjoyed it so much that I almost finished it. So I actually slowed down on that on purpose so I could leave my more involved projects for home. So that's the only reason it's not already done. And the last work in progress is another test knit, this time for James & Watts. And I am making the Pixel Tweed sock, which is so fun. These are not colors I would have originally put together, but I am trying my best to not buy any more yarn for the near future and work out of stash. And this is yarn I already had. So these two are Knit Pig Stroll. I don't remember the colors, but I will put them on the screen or in the description or in the project page. And this is Malabrigo Ultimate Sock. I don't know the colorway, but it's really fun. I used a lot of this yarn already to make a different pair of socks, but I thought this was a fun combination because this yarn has like pink and purple and yellow in it, along with the white base and bits of blue. So I thought it'd be cool on this Pixel Tweed, and I've been eyeing James & Watts's Pixel Tweed pullover for a really long time because I love that idea of color work, mosaic color work that mimics like retro TV screens. I think that's so cool. But I always wondered how it worked, and it's really, really simple. And it makes such a really cool texture, while also just being like really simple color work. It's pretty funny. These match each other really well. So I think this will be a fun combination to wear together. But yeah, that is my current work in progress of this test knit. I only have a couple weeks left, so I really need to get cracking because I don't have that much progress. I'm trying to just do like 4 or 5 repeats a day, and I think that should at least get me done with one sock, which is the requirement for the test. But I would love to have both socks done so I can wear them. But yeah, that is all of my works in progress right now. I apologize again. This episode has gotten really, really long. I hope that future episodes aren't so long because I think I'll have less to share. But I can't promise anything. I'm a bit of a yapper. That is just how I am. And like I said, I have nobody to talk to about these things because none of my friends are as into knitting as I am, although I'm sure they would be happy to listen. But I think you guys understand a little bit better. And I hope you guys enjoyed the kinds of projects I'm making. I would love to hear what you guys are working on. I know a lot of people finish their podcasts off with other things that they've been really into. I don't know if you guys... I have to admit, I don't always watch fully through the end of those, but I'm happy to share the things that I've been interested in. I just started Killing Eve TV show. That's been really fun. I just finished rewatching Lost like last month. That is one of my favorite shows of all time, and since it's on Netflix, I would totally recommend anyone go watch it if they haven't. If people like the sort of personal updates, I'll give you a few. Nothing too personal, but yeah, thank you so much for watching if you made it all the way to the end. I hope that this time I don't scrap it and re-record. But let me know what you're working on. Let me know your thoughts on any of the projects that I shared or any of the dilemmas that I have. Are there any fall patterns that you're really excited for? I know I have fall plans and like fall releases that I'm really excited about. Although I have no business casting on anything new while I have all the whips that I have. But I would love to hear like what you guys are working on, what you guys are going to be working on, any knit-alongs that you're really into right now. And yeah, if you're interested in a fall knitting plans video or a everything I knit video or just anything, what kind of videos you guys like to see, I'm happy to make more than just the standard podcast. And I will hopefully see you guys next time. Bye bye.